I'm Bethany, and that's true.
We're here to explore this towering structure with an extraordinary yet heavy history.
Built in the 19th century, these walls embodied a groundbreaking design that was the first of its kind, but far from the last. Though its original purpose has long since faded, there are still stories that echo from within.
Come along as we explore Eastern State Penitentiary right here on Oddity Odysseys.
We are in Philadelphia, which is a city that has hosted a multitude of firsts.
Right, first hospital, first bank, first library, I believe, too.
Oh, the parking spot.
What? Oh, I didn't see anything.
Philly is also home to the world's first true penitentiary, which is what is on our agenda for today.
There it is.
Eastern State Penitentiary is only about a mile northwest of Center City on Fairmont Avenue between Corinthian Avenue and North 22nd Street.
Look at the size of these walls. I'm not sure we're going to be able to cover this whole place in one day.
I mean, it only spans 11 acres.
Oh, is that all? Yeah, we've definitely covered more territory in a shorter period of time, but there's a lot of inner workings going on here that we don't want to miss. I mean, this is 4 blocks by 4 blocks. We got to check in up front. At first glance, it looms like a fortress. High stone walls and a gatehouse intended to keep dwellers in. Built in 1829 on what was then the outskirts of Philadelphia, it was once the most expensive and ambitious prison in the world. But what began as a bold experiment in human reform would soon become a cautionary tale.
So we are officially inside the walls of the Eastern State Penitentiary, and there's so much history here that we enlisted some help. And this is Bug, and you are a state penitentiary expert.
I'm a senior educator at Eastern State, so I do a lot of research, develop some programming here, but my day-to-day is leading tours and educating guests who come and visit the site.
It's hard to summarize, but can you explain a little bit, where are we right now?
We are on the site of, at once, the biggest building in the country, but most significantly, the first penitentiary in the United States. A penitentiary itself is a prison that focuses on rehabilitation. So when Eastern State first opens up, it's a really different kind of prison than any of the other ones that existed before us.
And so today we're going to walk through a lot of the history and the architecture and just hear about your thoughts along the way, if that's okay with you.
That sounds great. This building was in ruin for 23 years before the museum gets in here and starts cleaning it up. So there's some rubble all around, and of course the building itself isn't in pristine shape.
If it was, then I'd be like, hold on a second.
Yeah, right, really. Well, and there's parts of it that we have restored, but that's like an ongoing question of like, do we restore this place or do we preserve it?
Yes.
Because if you restore it to the 1820s, you knock buildings down, which doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
But you could preserve it to kind of show the different time lines that we're talking about here. So like, you know, it opens up in 1829. What does it look like then compared to what it looks like in 1971 when we close?
Look at these doors. And each one is a cell?
Each individual cell here would have originally had one person. Eastern State as a penitentiary functions on the system called the Pennsylvania system.
Which is solitary confinement, correct?
Yes.
Designed by architect John Haviland, Eastern State stemmed from the radical idea known as the Pennsylvania system. This system preached that silence, isolation, and solitude lead to reform. What I hear is that it was intended to be built for one person per cell block, but that changed.
Oh yes, it did.
Quickly, right?
Well, we don't exactly know how quickly it changed. There's a lot of overcapacity around the 1850s and 1860s with the Civil War. But by the 1890s, we do know through private records, they already are kind of removing solitary confinement. And 1913 is when they eventually officially switch.
And I see it behind you. Is this an open?
This is, yeah. Now, what's really notable is this cell does not look anything like what it looked like in the 1820s or even in the 1970s.
Oh.
It's in pretty significant ruin, yeah.
And it's hard to believe we're just getting started, too.
Yeah,
this is
truly.
incredible.
142 years of history in this place. It's hard to cover that in only a few minutes. Yeah. We have a restored cell here.
Yeah,
that
I was
shows
gonna say, I
what it
just
would
stopped in my truck, so I was like, hold up.
Way different than any of the cells you see around now, but it would have looked pretty standard at the time when it first opens up. And these cells right here, though not fully restored, are stabilized and they're safe to enter. So if we can go inside one of the cells and get a sense of what it would look like, yeah.
I will say there is almost like a cautiousness going in here, you know?
The doors being so small kind of provide that feeling. They wanted the small doors to kind of be hard for people to get in and out.
This lead to somewhere?
It used to lead to somewhere, but again, like this place is open for a long time. That used to be the door from an individual solitary cell into an individual solitary exercise yard.
Oh, interesting.
Here's the solitary exercise yard. Not very big, definitely pretty small, but prisoners would come out of their solitary cells right here every so often and get to spend a little time in the fresh air with the sun hitting their faces. My goodness.
Very small.
It is. It is. And couldn't do a whole lot out here. I mean, I guess you could run in place or do some push-ups, but that's about it. I would not want to exist this way, ever.
The arched ceiling in here and the light at the very top are really critical aesthetically. Now, arched ceilings, tall ceilings like this also cool a building down. The rooms like this are small enough that it doesn't have a big impact. It's supposed to be the vibe, or at least the aesthetic, of a church. And if it seems simple or kind of plain, that's what a Quaker church looked like at the time.
I think they probably wanted that for people to reflect and maybe think about what they did.
Yeah.
Because you don't do that more so than in a church.
Exactly. And they want to provide that feeling. They want people to come in here and say, oh, that's what this place is for. Yeah.
That's incredible. Even getting out, you're kind of like, gotta crouch a little bit.
So we are kind of coming through what's called the link between the actual cell block itself and then the central rotunda, a really critical building architecturally to this place.
The wagon wheel design with 7 cell blocks fanning out from a central hub became the model for over 300 prisons around the world. But over time, cracks in the prison system and within its walls began to form.
Originally, there was 500 people incarcerated here, and they didn't have 500 guards, right? And so the building has to do some surveillance, some control itself.
Before electronics.
Absolutely, right? And before security cameras and anything like that. The radial design that kind of epitomizes the use of a central rotunda like this is the core example of that at Eastern State. All right, so you can stand in the very center right over here. The idea of the central rotunda is that one person can see from the very center of the building down every single one of the original 7 cell blocks.
Right before you said that is when I became aware of that.
Yeah, and critically, you could do it in less than a minute.
So for your time and you're like, I gotta do a quick check,
Yeah.
you take a rotation and then. My mind is blown with I'm seeing different pieces that are older and some are a little bit more refurbished.
Yeah.
Wow.
So where are we headed next? It looks like a baseball diamond of some sorts over here?
Exactly. So in the 20th century, after solitary confinement is officially ended, 1913 is when that switch happens.
Okay.
They move to a congregate system. People can see each other, they're housed together, they're eating together, as religious ceremonies work. They're also exercising together. And so there's a big exercise field, the congregate exercise field, and there are other sports played there, but it's colloquially called the baseball field.
Architecturally, how did they adjust to having people allowed to see each other now, given that this place was built with solitary in mind?
Yeah, it's a great time to ask that question. If you look to your right over here, these kind of squared off rectangles.
This here?
These were the doors from the outside to the exercise yards that would have then had that door we looked at on the inside of the cell into the cells themselves.
Oh, I see, and there are several of them, one for each cell.
And they're blocked off.
Yeah.
The 20th century, the changes to the buildings, they're largely removing the exercise yards. And by that, what I mean is covering the doors, adding a roof, knocking down the walls between, and they become long hallway-like, in this case, workshop spaces, or one of, if not the first, synagogues in any U.S. prison. One of the big reasons this is called the baseball field, right here, the baseball backdrop. But you can see at the very top of it, it also has football yard posts. They would have added some on the other side too. And
I don't think I ever would have recognized those as football uprights.
They make use of their space in a sense.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
Can't have a penitentiary without guard towers.
That's a great point because for a while, they didn't have any guard towers, not really at least. So the red brick structure you see up there right now wasn't there originally. It's added in the 1920s, nearly 100 years later on.
Yeah, the architecture does look a little different.
Originally, people could go up there, you can see the door up to the main tower, and there were people up there, but it wasn't as used as much. And there's a real big kind of impact to this place that changes that pretty substantially. 1923, Leo Callahan and 3 other people escape over the wall using kind of scrap pieces of wood to build a makeshift ladder as they're climbing it.
Crafty.
Yeah.
Was this the first escape?
No. In fact, actually, it's the last of the permanent escapes. A lot of people tried to escape. Many of those people were not successful. So at that time, they modify these corner guard towers. They build them up, they become more significant.
And that's why they built the enclosure.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they built one of these on each corner.
Exactly. You kind of see the one in the very distance over there. There's one in every single one of the 4 corners.
Yeah.
And the real big kind of impact to this place that changes that pretty substantially. 1923, Leo Callahan and 3 other people escape over the wall using kind of scrap pieces of wood to build a makeshift ladder as they're climbing it.
Crafty.
Yeah.
Numerous escapes, a rapidly growing population, prison riots, criticism from the media, and maintenance costs were just some of the issues plaguing the prison's reputation. By the 1960s, it was becoming glaringly clear that Eastern State was crumbling under the weight of its own ideals.
There was really only one solution: to cease all operations inside the century-old building. By the end of 1971, Eastern State Penitentiary stood empty.
So the Eastern State Penitentiary did receive criticism in its very early days for inhumane punishments, such as the iron gag and the shower bath, and confinement in underground cells. The underground cells were said to be down this staircase.
It's the hole.
It's the hole. Pretty creepy.
Yeah.
So they were used frequently, but I believe after 1953, they were officially shut down after the prison received a visit from the Bureau of Corrections. So we do have one more spot we're going to check out before we have to say goodbye to Bug. And what is it that we're about to see?
So the Catholic chaplain's office. Originally it's the warden's office when this hallway first gets added in the 1880s. The warden, Michael Cassidy, is the reason this is kind of first added, and he's the warden who uses this as his office first. So a lot of the really ornate fixtures is kind of typical of what his addition is. But around the 1930s, the 1950s, again, eventually it becomes the Catholic chaplain's office. And the Catholic chaplain around the 1950s is Father Edwin Gallagher. Now, he meets someone who's incarcerated here named Lester Smith. Lester Smith has already started painting in a prison that he was at before Eastern State, but he's painting these images on his cell walls now because, again, it's allowed at Eastern State, but he also can't afford canvases.
Right.
So his job becomes painting murals all over this office space. So let's take a look.
Oh my gosh.
There's 23 murals in total. That skylight has a big problem. While we're in ruin for 23 years, it's blown out nearly the entire time. And a lot of the damage you see here is because these paintings are subjected to rain, snow, ice.
This is the most color I've seen yet today.
Yeah. 1955, it's later on, but this is a story about rehabilitation nonetheless. Lester Smith leaves Eastern State. He doesn't go back to a prison again. And we've kind of connected with his family since he's passed and tried to understand more of his story. But they also help us to understand who painted these in the first place because he signs them under a different name, Paul Martin. Paul Martin are the two names of his patron saints, St. Paul and who is eventually named St. Martin de Porres.
So there's just so much history here and a lot to see, and you are doing a service by kind of telling people what you know and educating them along the way, so thank you so much for that today. And the final thought I have is there is a lot of beautiful architecture and so much history to go through, but there's also a sense of heaviness.
Yeah.
Is that kind of a sentiment that most people who visit this place walk away with?
Absolutely. This place is the source of many of the changes within our prison system that are causing huge problems today. The use of solitary confinement on the widespread, it's an issue we have nowadays in various forms, certainly. Unsanitary conditions, the financial problems, the recurrence of violence, recidivism rates, those are problems they're talking about 200 years ago here, but we talk about now as well.
Right.
But there's also the weight of the individual stories. There's a lot of lessons to be learned because of that.
Well, thank you so much for teaching those lessons with your time. And we hope you guys get to check out the Eastern State Penitentiary for yourself. If you do, request Bug. They are the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Of course.
It's hard to summarize, let alone contain the vast and complex history of Eastern State Penitentiary. For 142 years, these walls bore silent witness to the daily lives of those who lived and worked within them. The weight of it all, stories, suffering, reforms, and regrets, is almost too much to unpack.
Historian Paul Kahn may have said it best. Perhaps that is what Eastern State has to teach us. As far as we've come, we still have a very long way to go. From the crumbling cell blocks to the chilling stories that still echo through these walls, Eastern State is truly a historical oddity.
A huge thanks to the passionate staff for their expertise. If you'd like to book your own tour, we've included a link in the description.
And if you want to see what didn't make it into the episode, check us out over on Patreon. We'll leave a link to that in the description as well.
Until next time, keep exploring.
A lot of people tried to escape. Many of those people were not successful.
Okay.
We do know of 4 people who were, right? And Leo Callahan is the last of those people, but the 3 people he's escaping with are not. They do eventually get brought back to Eastern State.
Okay.
One of them 6 months later from Honolulu, Hawaii. So really far away, right?
Yeah, he booked it.
Yes, truly, right? Booked it, but then was like, I think I'm all right, because
Yeah.
he was talking about having escaped this place pretty publicly. That's how he gets brought back.